Now, you learned all the theory about how components work, how you pass data around, how props work, and so on. And that's all nice, but how do you actually plan a React application? How does that work? Now, you can of course split this up into more granular steps than these three. But here are three very important steps I see and I regularly go through when planning a React application. The first step is planning the component tree, the component structure. You probably got a design by your designer, or you basically created an app design on your own. And now it's up to you to split this up into React components. And it's absolutely normal that the result you may have at the end might look different than your initially planned component tree. But it's super important to have an idea about what should go into its own component and what not. The other important part of your application, of course, is the application state. You can also translate this with the data you plan on using and manipulating in your application. For example, and of course we will do this over the next lectures, in our burger application, we need to keep track about the ingredients a user added, because that will determine what we need to render and also what the user needs to pay in the end. Now, once you know the component structure of your application and the state you're going to use in it, you can plan components versus containers. So which components in your application should be stateless, also sometimes called dumb components? So basically components that are functional and don't use hooks, or even class-based components that don't use state. And which components have to be stateful components, so either functional components using the useState hook, or class-based components using the state property. These are the three steps I regularly go through, and these are the steps I want to go through with you together. We're going to plan our component tree, component structure, and then we're going to have a look at which state we need and what can be a component and what should be a container. And then we're just going to start building the application. And as you will see, we might then even add more components than we initially planned, because we see that we can split it up even more. Or maybe that some split we did plan doesn't make sense once we start implementing it. And that's perfectly normal. But having a plan is of course very important.